Hello there, JMAT's bringing you round 8 of the run for the championship. I'm currently 7-1, and this is a very keepable opening hand against Fallout. Knowing that I have a 2-drop and a 3-drop, and potentially racing into a Phantasmal Dragon, it's promising. And yet another player playing black. I think that's probably the most common color that I've seen, so, just waiting for the Grave Titan. 3 other people have had it so far. I'm recording this for GenerationD20.com as part of the Draft Diary series, if you are stumbling upon this in some unusual place. And Cemetery Reaper, I hate to see that. It's one of those cards, one of those winning board advantage, winning game type of things. Anytime you can generate token creatures, I don't know, and do it repeatedly, it puts you in a pretty good spot. There, he's also winning the Tempo War, although having him use that Aether Adept now instead of when I have my Phantasmal Dragon out, it's nice. So now to be most effective with my mana, I'm going to go and looks like I cast the dragon, take that aggressive move, and hope that the 4 cards in his hand are not targetable removal. No Ring Fleshes, no Doom Blades, no Dark Favors even. And he's packing an Unsummon, which, that's unfortunate. He definitely has kind of the aggro bounce deck is what it looks like with the Aether Adept and the Unsummon. Although he didn't have a 2-drop. And really when I've played that archetype, I almost always load up on Coral Merfolk, and I guess in Sealed you can't really load up on something, but I've always found it beneficial if you have that. Here, Pride Guardian can potentially hold off Aether Adept, so with the zombie that he's about to make, we might be able to be in a race, win a race against that, because we can gain 3 life then. When our veteran comes out, he can attack into unprofitable things, and we can do Frost Breath next turn as well as veteran, all depending on what he ends up actually playing. Now that being said, he is ahead on the race, since he will knock us down to 13 here before he even casts. I don't know, he's within mind control reach, so that's another intimidating thing. Drifting Shade, although it's at maximum a 3/3 right now, it still can be a setback. So I face the difficult choice of whether I want to see if he'll trade with my Griffin, which he probably won't. If he thinks he's going to have a use for that mana, he might. And if he has something like a Ring Flesh, then he absolutely will. So now I have really no choice but to tap down his Drifting Shade. Might as well make it so he can't make any more of those guys. That'll save my Griffin, but will only buy me a turn on the attack. And for his part, he'll knock me down to 10 this turn. Then I could attack in and potentially get him down to 14. depending on how that all goes. And of course, Shin of Wishes makes everything I just said fall apart. He now has a better presence on the board in the air, and he has card advantage somewhat with that drawing ability. So twice my life, better creatures. It's definitely not looking good for this hand. That being said, I do have a lot of removal. Doomblade could do serious damage to his Jin. Oblivion Ring or Pacifism could also slow his forces. And if he offers up a trade, I probably would double block with Griffin and Sentinel on Jin of Wishes. It looks like I even was willing to trade with the Drifting Shade, which isn't completely wrong. I mean, he's going to have to spend all 3 mana to kill one of my creatures, and he still loses his, assuming that he doesn't come upon... Well, actually, he would only have to spend 1 mana to kill one of my creatures. Yeah, that was not so good. Since I was dealing 4, I was thinking he would have to be at 4, but he doesn't. He just has to be at 2 to kill. Here is a tough call. The Jin is what's preventing me from getting through. Bouncing the zombie token would actually, kill it, but we just loaded up the graveyard with creatures, and so there are more zombies on their way. And how kind of him to not make me have to make that decision. So now is time for unprofitable blocks. I have to block the zombie. And that was a good play, though. If you're going to if you're going to offer a trade, offer the Pride Guardian as well. Because that way, regardless, you're gaining that 3 life, and if he decides to kill the Pride Guardian and not either one of my other 2 creatures, I'm even happier that way. So that is something to think about if you ever have an onslaught or a single creature attacking in. Sometimes tossing on the Pride Guardian for extra fun can be worth it. Now here, I'm a little bit torn because if I don't tap the Cemetery Reaper now, he's going to create a zombie. But if I allow that to resolve and it gets to his turn, before I can tap him again, he'll make another zombie. My thought was, at this point, Jin of Wishes is really the most dangerous, threatening thing to kill me. If I can stabilize a little bit on the ground, I can hold off his zombie horde and, potentially buy time. And that's all I'm doing at this point, is looking to buy time. Unfortunately, we're probably talking about a zombie coming in, chump with the Pride Guardian, go up to 9, and then next turn he picks me apart. Or I take the 3. But I'm still in a great deal of trouble for next turn. Creatures coming too late and not powerful enough of creatures. So, knowing that it was over, go ahead and concede. Nothing was coming up that was going to save me. This is kind of a tough one. Like, I know that he is playing black, and Cemetery Reaper I couldn't kill, but Djinn of Wishes I could, and I'd rather be able to kill it with a Doom Blade than to bounce it with an Unsummon or whatever. So I'm keeping in the black, even though I'm playing against black. I didn't think his greatest threat was another color. And that's a very keepable hand. Pride Guardian into Stormfront is a good lead-off. And having 2 forms of removal to hopefully keep the skies clear. I have no idea why I paused at that point. And fortunately, he doesn't have a 1-drop, although a Phantasmal Bear I could kill if I really wanted to. And a Bear of my own, which I could play in combination with Pacifism next turn. So that's nice to know. And he has no 2-drop, also good. So attack in and see if I can draw out some removal, or whether I'm just going to be able to actually deal some damage to him this game. That's a nice change of pace. Since he didn't have anything, nothing to cast my Pacifism on this turn. Next turn, though, potentially, if he taps out to cast, I could be attacking in for 4 and disabling his creature. Or he could blow me up with a Aether Adept. And although I may do it, I think it would be highly questionable to actually use removal on the Aether Adept, since the Pride Guardian does a pretty good job of it right now. Unfortunately, my 2 most powerful removal are enchantments, so not instant speed, and Frost Breath I'm not likely to want to cast unless he had put out something like a Phantasmal Dragon or what have you. So I really just need to draw into more threats. A pretty good board state. No, I don't. So now I definitely need creatures, and he introduces another color, which is not promising. The Djinn of Wishes. That makes it pretty bad for you. Because of the wish counters, I think probably Oblivion Ring would be worth it to keep it so that he's not able to get the card advantage. What am I thinking with Frost Breath? Was I so fearful of a Cemetery Reaper that I wanted to keep a... I think that's an awful move on my part. I totally should have Oblivion Ringed Djinn, and then we would be back to square one. There's no card in the set that in blue, black, or red that could get rid of the Oblivion Ring. And see, by doing that, I allowed him to draw an extra card, which is going to very shortly punish me. Ew. Warstorm Surge makes things ugly too. So if I had played the Oblivion Ring as I thought I should on the Jhin, then he would be gone and I would be dealing with a Warstorm Surge. Instead, I'm dealing with a 4/4 flyer that I can pacify, so I'm dealing with, I don't even remember what the name of the card for 4 blue, Treasure Trove. I'm dealing with a Treasure Trove that only has 2 counters, or can only be triggered twice. Although it's a little bit better than Treasure Trove because you don't have to pay for the casting cost. Nice of him to get a swamp off of that though. So he can attack with the Aether Adept. I have no cards in hand, so the Looter will really only help me if I draw something I don't want to play. And here, it's worth it to be able to bounce the Pride Guardian and have the blocker up, I think, because at this point there's a good chance that whatever he would be casting, if I bounce it, he's still able to cast it plus something else. There isn't a huge advantage to the bounce unless it's bounce for like Alpha Strike, and I'm really not seeing that right now. So next comes another land, although that's accelerating his deck. If he was spending the turns drawing land instead of drawing whatever he's going to draw, I might find myself in a better place. Getting rid of the Warstorm Surge was huge, because I would be dead by now if I hadn't. And here, I actually find a threat. The Pride Guardian is still holding the ground against his board, but he has 5 cards, now 6 cards in hand. Which makes me think he can just unload at some point. And there we go. So he gets several more wishes and a 4/4 flyer. I just don't know how I deal with that. And the answer, of course, is Doomblade, but, oh no, I was going to say cancel. Seemed like something he would cancel. So here again, I'm in a somewhat advantageous state. I'm holding the ground. He's at lower life. I have a 3/1 who can get through, but 5 cards. And you know he can't just have land. If he does, I'm winning because he had the worst draw ever. And really, you know, he could have Gravedigger, could get yet another turn with that Jhin. I know he has Cemetery Reaper, so that is a threat that I'm waiting to have to deal with. And there are plenty of creatures now in the graveyard to make an army of zombies. On the other hand, he has 5 turns. If he can't answer the Drake, so we'll have to wait and see. So he attacks in. I don't know if that was the best move. I probably, if I hadn't been willing to trade the Aether Adept, I could attack with it next turn if he doesn't play something. And I was gaining 3 life anyway, so technically I would have been 1 on the plus side. With the way he tapped that, makes me feel like, yep, Fireball. There goes your entire team to 1 card. And Plains is not going to do it, not going to pull it out for me. Now he's loaded up with 4 cards. See whether he has a significant threat to help his cut through. And in this case, that's a significant threat. I can buy a couple turns tapping those guys. Since they are now on a 3-turn clock if those 2 were attacking in, but oh, wow, that hurts. And a land right there hurts even more. So if I'd allowed him to attack down to 6, I could have killed his dragon and his and tapped his vampire, and he would be hitting me to 10 this turn, but I'd have 5 more turns of that. So it's kind of a toss-up. And the continued drawing of land is dooming me at this point. Would love to see my Sphinx to get a little card advantage my way. And Doomblade isn't enough. So that's loss 2 for the tourney. I am now 6-2 overall. And basically that takes me out of contention for the top 8, which is what everyone was shooting for. There were 11 players in the tourney who made 9-1, with only 8 of them actually getting in, but that loss got me out of it. Had some nice options coming up, but it was too little, too late.